Alright, so before I begin, I should let you guys know that the footage that's on screen is from the Best of Zelda video that I did, and I should also remind you that all the footage that's captured here is demo only. They were very adamant about telling me that I have to remind you guys that it's the demo only, and that's what you're seeing on screen. So, just gotta get that out of the way, so let's get started. So, I was at Fan Expo Canada this last weekend. Surprise, I'm Canadian, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm sorry. But anyway, I was at Fan Expo Canada, and I was there for all 4 days to play the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate demo. It was the demo's first time debuted in Canada, so it was really exciting for me. So I went for all 4 days, and I pretty much went only for Super Smash Bros., and I stayed in line the entire time. And I played literally over like 55 matches because I had 41 videos recorded. Some of those had 2 matches in one, and then a good chunk of matches that I had at the end of Sunday I wasn't able to record. So I've played over 55 matches, and that's probably a lowball guess. And for every single match that I played, I went Zelda. I did that for a few reasons. One, I like Zelda, but 2, there's been a lot of misconceptions about Zelda floating around. People don't understand how her moves work. They don't, like, some people think that she's low tier, some people think that she's high tier. You know, you get a lot of different mixing of opinions. People don't really know what to think, and that makes a lot of sense when you consider the fact that Zelda as a character is historically a character that people aren't that interested in because she's always been low tier. So when you combine her buffs along with her visual redesign, a lot of people are interested in the character now, but they have no idea, you know, what they're seeing. A lot of the time when they look at the character, I mean, okay, they know what they're seeing, but what I mean is they don't understand quite as much about Zelda as I would about Sheik, because she's a lot more relevant, right? So I wanted to play Zelda a lot so that I could get as good of a grasp on the character as I could, so I could add some clarity to the situation. And as somebody who's mained Zelda for a very, very long time, I feel like I would have a really good understanding of the character and what changes she's had going from Smash 4 into Smash Ultimate. So before I go on to talk about specific changes, I do want to talk a little bit about who I am so that you understand the perspective this is coming from. I am not a casual player. I am a competitive Smash 4 player. I've been playing competitive Smash 4 for about a year now. I played Zelda for like 4 months, and then for the remainder of that time I played Bayonetta. I know, LOL, I'm not going to go into that story. But the point is that I'm not new to competitive Smash. In fact, I've even played competitive Melee and even Project M. So I have a history with the game, and I've been a long-time spectator, so I understand the ins and outs of the game quite well, and especially when you consider it from a competitive perspective. So that's how I'm tackling this. The footage that I have on screen right now, like I said, it's from the highlight video that I did. Not all of these are there because they're cool kills. So, like, some of them are there because they're goofy. Like I got like a triple kill on Battlefield because I killed 2 guys with up air and then I back aired Fox. You know, like that's stuff like that's not meant to be taken too seriously. Like, so some of it's there because it's goofy. Some of it's there because it's interesting kills, like, you know, killing Ridley at 140 or killing Sonic at 150 with up throw. And some things are there because even though they're not kills, there are things of interest. You know, like the last clip that I put at the end with the Din's fire off stage into Furoi's win straight up. So I'm going to be talking about sometimes specific things regarding the highlight, but also I'm going to be talking about, in general, the improvements and changes that Zelda's received from Smash 4 to Smash 5. So I'm going to go from each move and talk about things that I noticed that were really, really different about the character. So I'm going to start with her tilts. So Zelda's down tilt, it has less vertical knockback from what I've experienced, which means that at high percent you probably can't do things like down tilt into up air. But because it doesn't launch as high, I was able to do certain things like down tilt into Nair at mid percents, like around 40 or 50, on mid weights like Ivysaur. So it still has some applications. It's still a really fast move with decently low cooldown, so it has its uses still. Her forward tilt felt pretty much the same as Smash 4. It can kill at high percents. It's a good spacing tool. The frame data didn't seem to be much less. So there's forward tilt. The most important tilt, in my opinion, was up tilt, and this is the tilt I'm going to go on about. I'm going to go on about for a little while. I'm spamming up tilt as often as I can, which was hard, by the way, because they have tap jump on and it's smash stick, so you gotta play it like it's Melee. And I haven't played Melee in forever, but up tilt is a really, really good move. It's, you know, in Smash 4 it's always been a decent combo tool, but in Ultimate it seems to come out faster and has lower cooldown, which is great because this move is really, really good in and of itself, and it seems to be bigger than it was in Smash 4. Like, as an anti-air, this up tilt seems to be really, really good. Like, I've never traded with any hit from above me as long as I up tilted them at the right time. It was insane. So it's a great anti-air option. It combos into itself. It's low commitment. You can use it to try and box people out. It's a great tool. I think this will almost certainly be Zelda's most used tilt, and in general, one of her most used moves. I think up tilt is just fantastic. It gets, and it's a great substitute because you won't always be able to grab your opponent depending on what they're doing. So having another reliable option of launching your opponent into the air for a combo is really, really nice to have. So I'm going to talk about her jab. So her jab is a really interesting case. When people first saw her jab, there were mixed opinions because you can't do things like jab into running grab anymore. But there was that clip of Zelda killing the Pikachu player at like 130% with a jab at the end of Battlefield. So people have had mixed opinions on it, some negative, some positive. In my opinion, I think that jab, I mean, losing jab into running grab is obviously, sad, but there's other applications for the move. So basically the way it works is it's like Palutena's jab, where you have a jab 1, and then you can turn that jab 1 into a multi-jab. And I think the jab 1 is really slept on because, people see it and they're like, oh, you can't really combo jab 1 into a grab and have it be safe, so it's not that good of a move. But I think that jab 1 actually, I think people are sleeping on it just a little bit. You can see me using it as sort of a mix-up. You can see me using it and throwing it out. There was a Fox player. I used jab a few times to try and keep him out. I was fighting Mewtwo on Princess Peach's castle. I whiffed a grab, and then he went to punish me with a running grab, and then I just threw out a jab, and I just stuffed him. And if that were Smash 4, that jab would have been too slow. He almost certainly would have grabbed me if not for that jab being faster, because now jab 1 is frame 4, I think, whereas in Smash 4, it's like frame 11. So it's much faster in this game, which is great because it makes it a reliable option. It's still disjointed. It's a move you can throw out quickly in case someone wants to try and grab you. So that's a really cool application for the move. And if your opponent's in the air, then you can use jab to kind of mix up the way that they might be trying to recover to the ground. For instance, if they're like in the air in front of you and you jab, because it has like no knockback, you can maybe do jab up tilt or jab grab as a mix-up. I don't know if that's a guarantee, but it's certainly something worth noting. And what's nice about it is that the timing is really lenient. It has a very good first actable frame after jab 1, but it also allows you a lot of leniency with how long of a time you can wait before you turn it into a continuous jab. So I'll give you an example. There was a match I was playing against a Link player who I used jab 1 on his shield, and then he reacted to his shield getting hit and he spot dodged, and then I reacted to the fact that he spot dodged and just turned jab 1 into a continuous jab. So there was enough leniency for me to react to his spot dodge and still turn jab 1 into a multi-jab. So but even then, if you decide not to do the multi-jab, you can just throw out jab 1 and then piss off right away. It's very low commitment. So there are applications for the move. Obviously, having a multi-jab that launches is nice because it's a fast option that if you land it, you launch them, you can charge Phantom. There's a lot of things you can do with being able to send your opponent away with a frame 4 jab. So cool. It's got changes. It'll work differently than it does in Smash 4. It'll be good at different things. So I'm really curious to see how good this move will be, but I think that having a frame 4 disjointed stuffing option is really, really valuable for a character like Zelda, who sometimes struggles with fast opponents because she's never really had a fast, non-committal way to stop her opponents from dashing and getting in her space. So that's her jab. Now I'm going to talk about her aerials. Her aerials, for the most part, feel the same. Her down air especially, I think her down air feels like exactly the same. It still has the sweet spot. The weak spot still sends downward even though it's a sour spot. So good move. What's nice about down air is that it has way less landing lag now, as most moves do, which means that it's safe on shield, which is great because it means that Zelda can approach somebody in the air, or she can approach somebody from the air who's holding shield and not have to rely on doing something like a tomahawk. Because in Smash 4, doing like Nair on shield or Fair Bear is unsafe. Fair Bear is sometimes safe if you get the sweet spot and you space it properly, but for the most part, if you do point blank Fair Bear or Nair, it's not going to work. And up air won't even hit grounded opponents. So having down air, being able to hit shield and have it be safe is a really nice thing for Zelda to have, and you can do some interesting combos with down air as well, like landing down air. So that's a really cool option. Her neutral air, it works pretty much the same as it does in Smash 4. It's not really changed all that much, and there was no need for them to change it because it's a great move. The only thing is that sometimes Nair had a hard time connecting all of the hits. Like if you're jumping at a falling opponent and you jump at them and you Nair, sometimes they'll fall out of it or they'll pop up. This sometimes happened in Smash 4, but it's way more of a consistent attack in that game. And in general, multi-hits had a hard time in this game. I'm talking like Mewtwo Nair, Pikachu forward air, Mario down air. You know, even like Ridley forward air. If the opponents were too low, people would fall out of it. So this isn't unique to Zelda, and I think it's just something that it's going to be fixed when the full game is released. And typically in these demos that we've seen, especially for Smash 4 as well, multi-hits have always had a hard time at the early stages of the game. So I'm sure that these issues will be remedied, but for the most part, Nair behaves very similarly, has less landing lag, still a great combo tool, has about the same amount of hits, does the same damage. I think it's the same way in the fact that it does 2% in the front and 1% in the back. Something about Nair that is of note that I should talk about though, and this is different, is it's very easy to cross up the launch of your Nair. So whatever side you typically would start your neutral air from is the side that your opponent's going to get launched from. Like 9 times out of 10, that's where they get launched from. But if you're like really hard drifting through your opponent, chances are they get launched behind you instead. So this can be a good thing and a bad thing, because it's a bad thing because it means you're going to have to be a lot more aware about your drift during your Nair if you want to send your opponent in a specific direction. But it can be a good thing because having that extra control of where you can launch your opponent by drifting really hard in or away from them can be a good thing. You know, if you're on the ledge and your opponent's trying to ledge trap you, but you happen to get jumped from ledge Nair and you drift through them, now they get launched off stage and now you're in the advantageous position where you were just in a disadvantageous position. So it can be a good thing or a bad thing, but it's going to require more control of the Nair as long as it stays the way it is now. So that's her neutral air. Her forward air and back air, really good now. I mean, they still have the sweet spots that kill at really good percentages. But what's really nice about forward air is that it no longer is just randomly weaker than her back air. For those of you who don't know, her back air was frame 6 in Smash 4, but her forward air for some reason was frame 9 and had less kill power, which means that she didn't have as quick of a kill option in front of her as she did behind her. And that was just weird because the moves are essentially the same. So it made no sense for these moves to be so different. And they were, of course, really laggy in Smash 4. Like, if you landed with Bear Fair, you were going to sit there like you were an old nanny and you couldn't get up. But now in this game, her Fair has the same hitbox and power and frame data as her back air, which is nice. They're both frame 6. And another nice thing is that the landing lag is significantly reduced. This is obviously something people already know, but I'm just going to go over everything, you know, in its entirety. Why not? So the lag is obviously significantly reduced. There's a clip that I have here, and the reason I put this there is it's a clip of me trying to use forward air on Ryu on Battlefield, and like I get the weak hit first, but then I just get up and I try and get another one, and then I got the sweet spot. I'm not saying that is a combo, but the reason I included that clip in the highlights is because it's really cool. I just got a message. I thought it was really cool that, because in Smash 4, if you did that, there's no way you were gonna be able to get another fair before they hit the floor. It was just not gonna happen. But because of the reduced landing lag of forward air, I was able to get the weak spot of forward air and then reposition and try and get another fair before he even landed on the floor. So that was a really interesting clip that really showcases where fair and bear having less lag is going to be really useful. And you can, like, what's nice is that you can get the weak spot on somebody and it can be safe depending on their percent. So like there's another clip that I have of me forward airing a Cloud on the right side of Battlefield, and it was a weak hit, but he ended up sliding off, and then I got up and I ran away, right? And that's a really good example of how even when you miss the sweet spot, because of the reduced landing lag of the move, it's okay in certain situations. So the moves became a lot safer. Something else about forward air and back air, and this is new, the hitbox is definitely easier to land closer to Zelda's body. So it doesn't have more range, like it didn't seem to me to have more range than it did in Smash 4 in terms of like how far out her leg can be and still get the sweet spot. But what's really cool is that this, like for instance, let's say the sweet spot is her ankle, right? There's all this dead air between her ankle and her actual body, like her torso, for instance, where it's still a weak hitbox. And now it seems like the space where you can get a sweet spot in between her ankle and her body is a lot more lenient. So doing back airs and forward airs closer to Zelda's body is easier to get the sweet spot for, is essentially the point. So really, really cool options. These are great buffs for Zelda, absolutely. And then you have up air. Maybe it's the knockback playing with my mind. It might just be a placebo, but I honestly thought her up air was stronger. You can see me killing, you know, Ridley at absurd percents. You know, like there's another clip I have here where Ridley's on the floor of Town and City at like 100% or 90%, and I killed him with up air from below the stage, and it just killed him. Like, that's really, really good. I know it's Town and City, but the fact that it killed was absolutely impressive. And the move, it is bigger. The visual hitbox doesn't really look all that different, but the Zelda Discord and myself, we've looked into some of the clips that I have, and we've recreated a lot of them on the stages, like on Town and City and on Battlefield, to see if certain moves like up air would hit at certain, you know, in certain areas where I use the move, and it definitely looks like the hitbox is bigger, even if the visual effect isn't so much bigger. So up air seems like it's bigger. It has less landing lag, of course. It's still a really, really strong move. That's all the aerials, right? Neutral air, back air, forward air, up air, down air. Yeah, so, okay. So now I'm going to talk about her smash attacks. These aren't really anything too crazy. Her down smash and her forward smash are pretty similar. They're both good moves. Her forward smash still kills at really good percentages. Her down air is still really fast. These moves didn't really need to be changed. They were great moves anyway, so them not being changed that much isn't really a surprise. Her up smash is also the same. Great kill power. Although it does seem to have a slightly bigger hitbox, kind of like up tilt does. It's a little more disjointed on top of her head, which is nice. So that's a welcome change. So let's talk about her specials, and there's one special in particular I'm going to be talking about for a long time. But let's talk about her neutral B. Her neutral B, I can't really comment on the frame data for this move because it's really hard to test, like, oh, what are the iframes of her neutral B? Are they still there? Like, what's the reflect hitboxes? What's the first frame that her damage comes out? I mean, like these are things that are almost impossible to test out in the scenarios that I was in because I was really only able to play free-for-alls. I wanted to do 1v1s, and they said that I might be able to when the lines thin out as the venue closed, but it wasn't meant to be. So unfortunately, it's all free-for-alls, and it's really hard to test things like frame data in a demo. So I can't attest to the exact frame data of a move like neutral B, which is really hard to test out. But I was able to use it in a lot of similar situations as you would in Smash 4. In Smash 4, it's a great combo escape. You know, it's a reflector, and I was able to use it in those situations. You know, if I was in the middle of a scuffle and I needed to get out, I would just spam neutral B, and then it would come out, and I would get out of the situation, and everyone would get launched away. So I was able to apply it in similar situations. Like I said, it is a free-for-all, so who knows how useful it'll actually be in a 1v1. But I don't think that this is a move that they would change, because her neutral B was one of her best moves. So if they were looking to buff Zelda, it wouldn't make a lot of sense for her to for them to change neutral B, considering it was her most applicable option probably ever. It was like Neighbor's Love was probably like Zelda's best move, and like, besides Monado Arts, it's probably, like, the best neutral B in the game in Smash 4 as a defensive option. It's really, really good, so I don't think they would change it that much. So neutral B is still fine, still a reflector, still a decent combo escape. We don't know to what degree it'll be better or worse, but we'll have to see. Her side B is, it didn't receive too many changes, but the changes it did get were so good. So it has about the same kill power as it does in Smash 4. So there's that. The missile speed is definitely faster. Again, this might be a placebo, but because, you know, this is just how I felt. The side B just felt way, way faster. So that was an improvement. Like, not crazy fast, but it was noticeably faster than it was in Smash 4, but with the same kill power. And that's a really good thing to have. But the best thing, obviously, and this is something that everyone knows, is that you can use side B off stage as Zelda or in the air and not enter free fall. And that's really good because it means that you can do things like Din's Fire to to help you recover. You can run off, like you can jump off stage to edge guard someone with Din's Fire, force an edge guard, and then since you're already off stage with them because you jumped off stage, now you can try and follow up and punish their air dodge because now air dodges are more punishable. So there's a lot more applications for it. You can jump and do side, you can do like a retreating jump in side B and not have to worry about landing with a bunch of, landing lag from the free fall animation. So there's a lot going on there with the side B having no free fall animation anymore that makes it so much more applicable in so many situations. And the last clip that I have in the highlight is such a good example of how Zelda's quality of life buffs will help her, because it's on Lila and it's like I do side B off stage towards the ledge and then I jump and I teleport straight up and then I drift to the Lilac platform. Those are two situations. I did two things there off stage that would have got me killed in Smash 4, because if you didn't fire off stage you just die. And for Ray's Wind, which I'm going to talk about next, you can drift immediately after the move is over. And that is fantastic because in Smash 4, if you look at the Lilac clip, if you were to teleport straight up like that in Smash 4, you wouldn't be able to drift. So what would happen is you would teleport straight up and then you would fall straight back down. You can only drift after like a whole 2 seconds of going straight down. Like, it's really, really bad. So in Smash 4, if I had gone straight up like that on Lila, I would have died. Whereas in this game, you can drift and then you're absolutely fine. So that's another thing with up B. You can drift, you can fast fall immediately after a Ferrari's Wind, which means that if you miss the combo, like if you're trying to do ladder and you miss it, you have a much higher chance of landing without getting Omega punished. You can mix up your landings a lot more. You can mix up your recovery with drift. It's kind of like, Fox's up B in Melee or in Smash 4. You have control of Fox as soon as the up B is over, so if you go above the ledge and then you can drift back and then drift forward to just barely grab the ledge, you can make a lot of those plays with Zelda now because of that drift change. So that's going to be a really big deal for her recovery. The up B does have a little bit less distance, but the distance that it covers is still much more than most other characters in the game. It still has a kill power, it can still ladder, people can still DI the ladder combo, but because it's a lot faster now, like the teleporting itself takes place much quicker. So, it's a lot faster of an option. It has a little bit less landing lag, so it's possible that you can use up B as a way to help yourself land in case you're being juggled. So that's something that you have to consider. The first hit of up B is also faster. In Smash 4, it's frame 8. If I had to venture to guess, I'd say it's maybe frame 6 in this game. It's just a little bit faster, which is great because it'll be another option that Zelda can use to have people get off of her, and having a move that you can use out of shield that you can turn someone punishing your shield into a kill. The faster you can do that, the better. That's the reason why Witch Time is good, but Witch Twist. The reason Witch Twist is so good is because someone's hitting your shield, or if someone's comboing you, and then you just use up B to get out of that pressure, you can turn your opponent pressuring you in the air or pressuring your shield into a situation where you can get a kill. And the quicker that the first hit of up B is, the more that Zelda will also have that same power of being able to turn pressure into an advantage, at least when it comes to being on the ground. So up B, really cool, still has a lot of kill power. You can drift, you can fast fall, lots of applications for the move. Overall, it's been buffed pretty well. And now I want to talk about the down B. And her down B, I know a lot of people have talked about the delay and how the applications for that. I'm going to go into more specifics because I think what Phantom will be for Zelda what Banana is for Diddy Kong, or what Explosive Can is to Duck Hunt, or what the Gyro is to Rob, or Lloyd to Villager. It's a move that partly defines that character's meta. Like, if you meet a Diddy Kong player who never pulls Banana, they're doing it wrong, right? Like that move is so integral to the way that character works that you can't separate that character's meta from that specific move. And I think that when it comes to Smash Ultimate, that's what Phantom is going to be for Zelda. Not saying that Phantom is as good as Banana. I'm just saying that it'll be as an important of a tool for her as Banana is to Diddy Kong, for instance. This move is really, really good. I think that if you don't spam this move as Zelda, then you're doing it wrong. And that's just what it is. So the way it works is you charge Phantom for 1 second. It's got a 1 second charge to get to the full delayed Phantom. Anytime you release the Phantom before then, it'll release a slightly weaker version of that Phantom. There are about, I think, 5 or 6 different stages of Phantom. There's one that throws out a kick, one that throws out a punch, one that has a sideward slash, one that has an overhead slash, which is probably the best one. One that goes a little bit farther, and then you have the delayed Phantom. And all of these Phantoms are really good. If Zelda takes, if she enters hit stun while she's charging Phantom, then the Phantom disappears, and for the delayed Phantom, if she enters hit stun before the Phantom flies out, it'll also disappear. But as soon as the Phantom decides to fly out, then even if she takes damage, as long as the Phantom has already launched, it'll come out, which means that there are situations where you can trade. I have a clip on the Mega Man stage where I send out like the level 2 or 3 Phantom, and then DK jabs me, but the Phantom still comes out, so it trades with him. This was possible in Smash 4, but it's something I should clarify. She can still do this in Smash Ultimate as well. So something else I want to talk about is how quickly she can charge some of the Phantoms. As long as Zelda has a Phantom with a sword, it's going to be a really good Phantom, and it doesn't take that long to charge the sword Phantom at all. Like, as early as stage 3 Phantom, you can get a Phantom that has a sword, which means it's going to have a lot of range. And to charge a level 3 or 4 Phantom, you only need to be charging Phantom for, let's say, like 3/8 of a second. Maybe the level 4 Phantom is like a half of a second, but that is still a really, really good move because it has so much range on it. The hitbox is really generous. It can be used to trade, it can be used to stuff out. Like the application, like you can use this move for like almost anything. You can use this move aggressively, you can use it defensively, you can use it to help cover your recovery options, you can use it as an edge guard. I do have a clip of using my Phantom to edge guard a Ganondorf off stage, and the speed and range that it has is something that I don't think you would have been able to do in Smash 4 very easily, especially because air dodging is more of a commitment now. So having that Phantom as a good offstage option to edge guard people with is going to be really, really hard for people to get around. So this is going to be a great move. And of course, the delayed Phantom, there are applications for comboing off of it as well, for zoning. It can help you approach. Phantom is fantastic. I think that if you're sleeping on the Phantom change, you don't understand how important that is to Zelda. Also, her run speed is increased also. That's something that at first seemed like we didn't know for sure, but like I've played Zelda a lot, and I played Zelda a lot in the demo, so I'm almost positive that she runs a little bit faster. She felt amazing. Like I'm moving around like a damn ninja in some of these clips, so she's definitely got some extra mobility as well. So these are some changes that are really going to be good for Zelda. So I do want to talk a little bit about where I think Zelda will be. I know this is where I'm going to get a little bit predicty, I guess. This stuff it's very presumptuous to talk about where a character will be in a meta that, you know, for a game that isn't even out yet. But I do want to have this portion of the video be more speculative, a little less serious, more fun. But before I talk about that, if you want me to rank Zelda in the demo, I really do think that she was probably top 5 in the demo. Definitely top tier in the demo. I know people aren't going to agree with that, but that's the impression I got. She was amazing. And by the way, I know it was free-for-alls, but I didn't just play with casuals. Sometimes I did, but other times I played with well-known competitive players. I played with Astro, I played with Ice Ninja, I played with Poke, I played with Notes, who's PR in Ontario. So I've played with a good amount of people. And there was always a guy with me. I think his name was Minato. That was his tag. So I've played like a lot of those free-for-alls. There are competitive players in those free-for-alls as well. You know, so it's not like these are like just nobodies. These are people who are actually semi-notable. But I really do think that Zelda was top tier in the demo. Not everyone's going to agree with me on that, but as you know, just that's just my opinion as somebody who played Zelda for that many matches. I thought that she was really, really good. So I do want to talk about this, and this is more theory crafting. This is the fun part. I want to talk about where Zelda might stand in terms of the meta, but specifically I want to come at this from the angle of comparing her to Smash 4 Zelda, because honestly I think that people who might still be calling her low tier don't understand why Zelda was bad in the first place, and or they don't understand how a lot of those issues that she had have been remedied. So in Smash 4, Zelda had 3, maybe 4 really, really big problems. The first one was a lack of neutral. A lot of her moves are, except besides down tilt and sometimes jab, a lot of her moves are really high commitment, which means that she doesn't really have anything to throw out. She doesn't have aerials that are safe on whiff sometimes. Like you have to be careful when you're using even aerials as Zelda against a grounded opponent. Whereas if you play Sheik, you can just kind of short hop fair a whole bunch, and that's a really big part of her neutral. Whereas Zelda doesn't really have an option like that in Smash 4. So in neutral, she could suffer a lot because she didn't have fast non-committal options in the neutral. It was a very bait and punish heavy playstyle. Another problem that the character had was her lack of an approach option. She can't, most of the time the best way to approach is with a hitbox, and the best way to do that in Smash 4 and in most Smash games is to approach with an aerial, because you could combine the fact that you are throwing out a hitbox by the hit that you're throwing out along with the minimal landing lag that's associated with that move. So again, I'll compare Sheik Fair. Sheik Fair is a great way to approach with a hitbox to help cover yourself while also giving yourself distance toward or away from your opponent. Whereas in Smash 4, Zelda doesn't have really that option either. She can't really approach with aerials. It's not safe for her unless she does fair bear. So her best option is to just kind of walk and jab and hope that she's able to get something started. So her lack of an approach, also a big deal, and she can't really do anything out of a run that wasn't super non-committal because she can't really jump into an aerial because none of them were safe. So her lack of ability to approach safely is also a really big deal in that game. Another problem is her kill options. Now Zelda typically is a character that excels at killing early, but if you're unable to get those early kills, and let's say your opponent gets to like 130%, she kind of runs into the same problems as Sheik does, because none of her stuff sets up anymore. Like maybe down tilt into up air, but even at like 130, that's not going to true combo anymore. And none of her throws killed in that game except for back throw, but there is usually no reason for your opponent to be at the ledge. So it was a really bad situation, because when you got your opponent to that kind of percentage, even someone like Sheik who struggles to kill, at least even then her options are still fast, so she can still fair and continue to push people off stage until eventually she can get the kill. Whereas Zelda, in order to get a hit that will kill, you have to pretty much land it raw. You have to get like a raw F smash or a raw up smash or a raw up air or a raw back air. There was no way to set up into any of these moves. And what's worse is that none of them were safe. For instance, like Captain Falcon, if his opponent's at 130%, he won't have any setups into back air anymore, but he can spam back air until he hits it, and it's a safe option for him to throw out because it's a non-committal option. Whereas all of Zelda's kill options at something like 130% are all really hard to land, and you have to get them raw, and they're not safe. So that's another area where she really, really struggles. And then the fourth option, this isn't as much of a problem as the other ones, but sometimes when it comes to how certain opponents will approach her, she can have a hard time dealing with certain angles. Like if someone's like above her and in front of her, the only thing that can maybe help her out was up tilt, and even then she could trade a lot of the time. But she had a hard time matching people in the air because of the way that her hitboxes work on her aerials. So it can be difficult for her to deal with people approaching her from certain angles in the air. So those are her 4 biggest weaknesses. Obviously that last one is less of a weakness than the other 3. But I do want to talk about why a lot of these issues have been fixed in Smash Ultimate. So I'm going to talk about her neutral first. So the reason why I think her neutral is a lot better is because, one, she has Phantom, which already just helps her with the neutral as it is. It's a really good option. You can throw it out quickly. It has a lot of range. So it's great as a stuffing option. And full charge Phantom is less of a commitment now, because as soon as you get the full charge Phantom, you can shield or roll instantly. Like, you're not stuck there like you are in Smash 4 until you release it, which is great. But another thing is that a lot of her options have been sped up and reduced in terms of land and landing lag. So I'm referring to both her aerials, but also especially her grounded options. Her up tilt comes out faster, it has less lag, which means that you can use it to stuff out approaches above you, in front of you, behind you even. You can get, you can punch people who are coming at you from behind if you want, because the move goes all the way around her. Her jab, like I said, her jab doesn't lead into grab anymore, but it's a frame forward disjointed option in front of her, which means that it'll help her to stuff out approaches and sort of see what her opponent is going to do in reaction to getting, you know, their shield hit by jab 1, for instance. And then you have down tilt, which is also a great option. So all these moves have been sped up at least a little bit, especially jab 1. So she has a lot of interesting potential to box people out in the corner, and she can do this much more quickly. So there's another clip in the highlight where I'm fighting a fox off to the right of Town and City, and I'm just throwing out moves. It's just up tilt nair jab, up tilt jab, and I forward throw snake, and then I piss off, and you know, so a lot of, like, she's a lot quicker when it comes to that sort of thing. So her potential to fight people in close quarters has definitely been improved, especially when it comes to trying to keep her opponents off of her. So I think that helps her neutral a lot, and just in general, the reduction of lag on all of her moves is another big deal, because of course, the less lag you have, the less commitment your moves are, and the better that they are to use in the neutral. So her neutral's been definitely improved. And I know that some people have said things like, oh, well, Zelda's had her aerials reduced by, you know, however many frames or 30% landing lag, but everyone else has had their moves cut by about 30% too. So comparatively, she's still going to be in the same spot. And I understand where people are coming from when they make that argument, but I think the problem with that is that if you give something like, I'm going to use Chic Fair a lot as an example because it just works, but if you give something like Chic Fair, you know, let's say 30% reduction in landing lag, it's not going to change so much how that move is used. It's still going to be used roughly the same way. It's still going to be used as a spacing option, as a combo tool. Fair is already safe on shield because you can fair jab people. So, you know, giving it a little bit extra, you know, a little bit less landing lag on something like a Chic Fair isn't going to change fundamentally how that move is used because it was already super safe. Same thing with something like Mario back air or neutral air. These are moves that are typically really low landing lag, and they don't, like, even if you reduce it by like 1 or 2 frames, it's not going to be a fundamentally really important change for those characters because it's never really something that they needed anyway. Whereas for someone like Zelda, 40% reduction in her aerials matters a lot more to someone like her than it would to someone like Sheik or Mario. You know, in fact, for most low tiers, you know, that kind of landing lag reduction is way more important than it is for the top tiers. So I think people who are making that argument, like, I understand where they're coming from. I just don't think it works. You know, I don't think that the improvements that Zelda gets from, you know, 40% reduction in her aerials, for instance, is the same as the sort of improvements that someone like Sheik would get from a 40% reduction in her aerials. It's good, but I don't think it changes how Sheik is played as much as it would change how Zelda is played. So, just in general, because her moves are way less commitment, they're faster, they are safer to use in the neutral, and then of course she has Phantom to help her as well. And I'm going to go into that again when we talk about her approach options. Her Phantom, obviously the delayed Phantom helps her with her approaching, but even when not talking about Phantom, the new mechanics of the game help her to approach as well. And again, people have said, you know, those mechanics, it's not like those mechanics are unique to Zelda. Everyone can do something like a running up tilt, and that's very true. But again, a lot of characters don't necessarily need, you know, to do a running tilt in order to be viable at approaching. Again, Sheik. Being able to do a running forward tilt isn't game breaking for Sheik. You know, she had other ways of approaching her opponent safely, of zoning them out. She had, you know, like forward air. You know, she had forward air to approach. She had forward air to apply that pressure on people to make her approaches safe. You know, so even if she can do running forward tilt, that's good. It gives her some options, but so it's gonna make Sheik better as well. But it's not as imperative of an option for Sheik to have because she's always had other ways of approaching safely, whereas Zelda never did, and now she actually does. She can do running down tilt, she can do running up tilt, and of course she has the new Phantom to help her approach. You know, she can do something as simple as, you know, if she's boxing with somebody and then she gets a forward throw or she gets a jab, she can send them away, charge Phantom, and now she can approach. She's got the Phantom to back her up. She can do running up tilt. She can, and with Phantom, you can even do some of the most unsafe approaches and still have them be safe, whereas it would never have worked in Smash 4. So you can do really silly things like set up a fully charged Phantom and then like up B into your opponent's shield, and then like as you're reappearing, the Phantom comes from behind you and they'll shield poke, or if your opponent tries to punish you on your after your up B hits their shield, the Phantom will come out the cut and punish them. So it'll make even the most unrisky approaches like a B onto their shield from across the stage. It can even make approaches like that safe in certain situations. So again, so she has a better neutral. She has more approach options thanks to the new mechanics, and Phantom helps with that as well. And then you have the kill power issue, where if your opponent's at a really high percentage, like let's say 130, and you're having trouble killing them, you don't really need setups into kill options anymore, because now she has a kill throw, which is amazing. So her up throw now is a kill option. I think I mentioned that. Did I go over her throw? That's what I missed. I missed her throws. So I'll talk about her throws briefly. Her down air, not down air. Oh my god. Her down throw. Her down throw is still a good combo tool. But I already knew this based on some of the other clips that I watched and from what other Zelda mains have told me, that down throw still works. So instead of using down throw as a combo option, I tried incorporating up throw as a combo tool and seeing how much leverage that would get me. It worked some of the time. I think that my execution, or lack thereof in certain cases, really stopped me from getting certain follow-ups off of up throw. But what's undeniable is that up throw is now a kill option, and a pretty good one at that. Now, if you stale it, it has a hard time killing it. I'm talking like 30% difference in terms of staling. Like if you stale your up throw, you can kill Ike at 130, but if it's unstaled, you'll kill Ike at like 130 on battlefield. But if you stale it, it won't kill until like 160. So it's probably best to just go for down throw follow-ups anyway, and then use up throw for the kill. So it's a lot like Mewtwo in that respect. I don't think it's as strong as Mewtwo's per se. But I do think it's something. I do think it's stronger than something like Corn or Greninja's up throws. But having this as an option is so important, because if you're struggling to get the kill, you have an on-demand option that you can throw out and just end that stock. You don't have to worry about setups or anything. And getting grabs is going to be a little easier because shield is reduced, so people can't just do shit out of shield for free. So shielding is a more vulnerable option in this game than it is in Smash 4, where people use shield aggressively. So that's really good. Her edge guards are improved dramatically, yet like Zelda still falls really slowly, so she can stay off stage for a really long time. Air dodges are a lot more commitment, so she can do things like Phantom off stage as an edge guard, which was amazing. I think I talked a little bit about that earlier. I only have one clip of using Phantom as an edge guard against a Ganondorf player, and that was probably the worst Phantom edge guard that I did. Because I had to burn double jump for it. So he could have air dodged like directionally up and towards the stage, and he would have been fine. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to record every match because some stuff went down on Sunday. I think some people inputted the developer codes on the demo setups at the booth, and that really made the representatives that were there upset. So they were being a lot more strict on that last day, especially with footage. So eventually they told me to put the camera away. And I understand that completely, no hard feelings. They're trying to do their job. It's Nintendo of Canada's first time hosting the demo. They don't want anything to go wrong, because then they won't be able to host another event like it. So I understand completely where they were coming from. But unfortunately, around the time that they told me to put the camera away is when I started getting really, really good with Phantom edge guarding. So take my word for it. I don't have too much footage of it, of course, but take my word for it. Phantom as an edge guard is a very, very applicable tool, especially the overhead slash, which is the one that I got on Ganondorf, actually. The overhead slash is really, really good. Like, the upward hitbox that it has is amazing. I was playing with Ice Ninja, and I think she was playing Snake, and she was damn near above my head when I was charging Phantom to edge guard her, and it still hit her. It was crazy. So it's a really good edge guarding tool. So that's something that will help her kill, because her edge guards are going to mean a lot more now because air dodging is so much weaker. And speaking of air dodging, I do want to go over that. There are some people who aren't sure about how the air dodges work. There are some people who say that you can air dodge multiple times. There are some people who say that only the directional air dodge has no lag, but that the Smash 4 air dodge does. That the directional air dodge has lag, but the non-directional doesn't. So the way it works is you have the directional air dodges, and then you have the non-directional air dodges that are like Smash 4, where you maintain your momentum in whatever direction you're drifting. That said, the directional air dodges definitely have way more lag than the neutral air dodges do, but even the neutral air dodges have some considerable lag at the end of it, and you can only air dodge once. Maybe they'll change it in the full game, but I asked people to try air dodging multiple times, and they couldn't do it. They can only do it once. So that's a really, really nice thing. So having only one air dodge, and even the neutral air dodge having some lag at the end of it, not as much as the directional, but having a noticeable amount more than it would be in, for instance, Smash 4. And I'm pretty sure the neutral air dodge invincibility frames scale with the diminishing returns of rolling multiple times, for instance, right? So if you were to air dodge multiple times, it'd probably be a lot slower and more punishable. So it's a lot more of a commitment, even the neutral air dodge, which makes her edgeguarding game a lot better. It makes even something as simple as a Din's Fire edgeguard so much more dangerous because of how much more maneuverable it is. And that's something else about Din's Fire, is that you're able to angle it much more up and down than you would in Smash 4. And of course, the missile speed is also increased. So even something like Din's Fire as an edgeguard can be really, really dangerous because of how committal the air dodges in this game are. And then of course you integrate Phantom as an edgeguard, and you can give people a lot of trouble coming back to the stage. So because of the changes that Zelda's gotten, in my opinion, it fixes pretty much all the issues that she had. She has a better neutral now because all of her moves are non-committal. A lot of her moves are faster, they have less lag. Her approach options are improved because of the new mechanics. She has Phantom to cover her approaches. She doesn't struggle to kill as much anymore because she has on-demand kill options like up throw and even back throw. And what's nice about some of her other kill options like forward air and back air is that even they are less committal. So even they are much more reliable options for killing if you struggle to get your opponent to die at an earlier percent, which is usually what Zelda excels at doing. So if I had to rank Zelda in the tier list, I don't know where I would put her, honestly, but it's somewhere in the top 5. Now, some people might say that that's probably biased and that there's not really much of a way I can know that, considering that I played nothing but Zelda in the demo. That said, I did actually play a few matches of not Zelda when I was told not to record anymore, so I do have some experience with other characters. I think Martha's really good. I think Bayo has actually been significantly nerfed in a lot of ways. This isn't a Bayo video, so I'm not gonna discuss that. But I really, really do think that Zelda's gonna surprise people on the game's release. Some people are downplaying a lot of her buffs, but again, I don't think they understand how important these buffs are to changing the crippling weaknesses that she had. Her issues of having a bad neutral, a bad approach, and non-safe kill options when you can't combo into those options anymore. All of those issues have been fixed and improved upon in some way, which makes this character a lot better. Some people have said mid-tier maximum. I say mid-tier minimum. I think this character has the potential to go a long way, especially when her Nair gets fixed. Like, I mean, it's not even like her Nair was that bad. Like, it's still comboed most of the time. It was just, maybe like 20% of the time people would fall out of her Nair, which is, I guess, a bad number, but that's almost guaranteed to get fixed anyway. So this is a character that's gonna surprise people. I definitely think she'll be high tier or even top tier. It depends. There's a lot of characters in the game, and there's gonna be like 75 characters on release, and we have a direct coming up tomorrow, which I'm gonna talk about that direct, and I'll also touch briefly on the K Rool and Simon Belmont direct as well, because I never actually talked about it. So there are interesting ideas I want to talk about. I do want to talk about the rule sets for tournaments, what I think we should be running. But yeah, that's going to be the Zelda video. If you want my opinion, I think that she is top 5 in the demo. I think that most of her crippling issues that she had in Smash 4 have been remedied. She has a good neutral. She can approach. Her kill options are more accessible. You don't land with forward air and back air and want to kill yourself. Also, for forward air and back air, the auto cancel frame. This is something brief. The auto cancel frames for her forward air and her back air are they're much more lenient as well. So like, for instance, in Smash 4, if you did a full hop forward air and then fast fell, you would land with lag. Whereas in this game, you'll auto cancel it, which is really, really nice. Something else is her throws. I forgot to go over her throws briefly, but I'll do that. So her down throw, like I said, still combos. Her up throw is a kill option. You can sometimes combo off of it. Her back throw is a kill move. It was a kill move in Smash 4, but it seems to be a little better in this game. I almost killed Ridley at like 90% on Town and City, which is fantastic because Ridley is like one of the heaviest characters in the game. So back throw is really good. Forward throw has garbage scaling. I forward threw Ridley at like 194% on the edge of Town and City, and he didn't die. So this move has like no scaling. It is not a kill option at all, but it has really high base knockback. So think like Ness's forward throw. It's very similar to that. So yeah, I think that these changes that she's received speak volumes to how useful the character is going to be in competitive play. I think that she's going to be a surprise. I think she's going to be high tier. At worst, she'll be mid tier, but I think people like Mewtwo King and Salem were right to say that in the demo, Zelda had the potential to be a top tier, and I definitely agree with that. I'm maybe a little bit more I'm a little bit more positive in the direction. They put her at like number 10. I'm putting her at like number 5. She was definitely really good, and this is coming from someone who played her for like over 55 matches. So I know, and like I said, I know these are all free-for-alls, but when you play that many matches with Zelda, you find enough of these nice little pockets of gameplay where there are no items on, and you're fighting against one opponent only. And that's, for the most part, what the majority of the highlights are made of. It's me fighting against one opponent, which is really cool. So, again, Zelda's really cool, and I think people who continue to call her a low tier, I'm not going to call them delusional, because I understand where they're coming from, because you know, you look at Smash 4 Zelda, and then you look at Ultimate Zelda, and you see that the moves, a lot of them look the same, you know, visually speaking, and the way that the moves work, there's not a lot of changes that have really happened in terms, you know, like you look at the character, and she doesn't look that different, so I can understand how someone would look at her and be like, okay, so she's low tier, so even if she got some frame data buffs, she, like, at most, she'll go from bottom tier to low tier. Right, like I understand where some people are coming from when they see that. I just think that I think the problem is that in Smash 4, a lot of Zelda's weaknesses are more subtle than a lot of other characters, but I do believe that they got remedied and they got fixed. So she's gonna be great. I plan to use her competitively. The only thing that's gonna get me to not play Zelda is if like 2B and 9S get announced as alternate, like as playable character or DLC, and then like you get playable 9S, because 9S is like my favorite character in video games right now. He's amazing. Anyway, that's not important. I'll be here tomorrow talking about the direct that happens. I'll probably post my reaction and talk about anything after that. So, cheers.